We're excited to come here, and we want to bring the yurt to Costa Rica and put her up again, invite people in and have another community space.
We plan to do this in a space called Sangha, which means community in Sanskrit. That's right next to Yoko North. We have this beautiful plan to start the schooling program, the family program, so people can right away, as of later this year, can start coming with their children for a week, for a month, for a few months, and actually have a place where they can stay, where their kids can get a program, where they can get a program with their kids, become better humans. That is so exciting.
I left the school board in 2022 after COVID, and a lot of those restrictions happened as well. And a lot of educators that I know, we created our own system and we created our own schools, and we created 4 schools and yurt schools. And working in the school system for 10 years, I realized within the public system there was a lot of ways that kids weren't being served the best in the way that education is being delivered, the fact that they're on screens a lot, and there's a big disconnection from nature and from play and from exploration. There's a lot of restrictions, like sitting in seats and paying attention only to the screen.
Be in service to people in some way, shape, or form. That's really what put a smile on my face. So I just knew that, I gotta dive deeper into this. I gotta do more with my time and my life to really dedicate more of that to people. So that's really what broke me into this space and really just said, this is what's for me.
Community has been a part of my essence, ever since I can remember. I really struggled as a young person with family dynamics, cultural, societal pressures, and really struggled to fit in with the community that was around me, and that really led me into my work with working with children and working in communities. So I feel like community is just where I need to be.
So you guys were teaching there a lot of essentially life skills and immersive experiences with the parents, without the parents, and all these angles that the kids and also the parents don't get in today's educational system in the public schools, right?
This type of education and the way that Sukhi's run these programs for these kids has definitely set them apart and is opening up all these new doors that generations before didn't have, because it's really shifting the way that they think and helping them use more of their mind, figure out how to really harness more of that power that they have.
Schools where kids dance and play and learn real life skills and really learn how to be a part of community.
This is all coming so nicely together to have a nature school, get that education. It's like such a full package that I'm sure you guys are going to be full, and you won't be able to have all the people that are going to want to travel and stay with us. Welcome to the YokoVillage podcast. Today we have special guests, Josh and Sukhi, true community builders, a couple that have an interesting background and such a wonderful vision that we're co-creating together to build a community space, a program for children and families, a school, and so much more. So we'll be talking about that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
You guys have a special story, and I'm really excited to share it with people watching and also our mutual co-creation. And maybe perhaps you can share a little bit about how you got to be so into community and a little bit about your background.
So for myself, getting into community, I guess my first real efforts toward that were through Healing in Color, which is what we co-founded together. That's a community space where there were a lot of different programs. I'm sure Sukhi's going to dive into that, but that's really where I got my start in doing that actual work. In previous settings, be that the corporate settings or different work environments, I really found myself trying to be in service to people in some way, shape, or form. That's really what put a smile on my face. So I just knew that I got to dive deeper into this. I got to do more with my time and my life to really dedicate more of that to people. So that's really what broke me into this space and really just said, this is what's for me.
Beautiful.
Community has been a part of my essence, ever since I can remember. I really struggled as a young person with family dynamics and cultural and societal pressures, and really struggled to fit in with the community that was around me. And that really led me into my work with working with children and working in communities. So I feel like community is just where I need to be. People light me up, and I love humans. I don't always like them, but I love them, and I love being around them. So yeah, community has really been kind of an essence for me for a really long time, and that's represented in the space that we had in Canada, like opening up our own community space. Also working in schools for 10 years, in public systems, and beyond that, working with families in their homes and working with children, children with special needs as well. Working with people from all walks of life. And one beautiful thing, really great thing about being in Toronto area is there's so much diversity in that little space that you really get a sense of experiencing all communities while you're there. So that was a really great way to grow up, was around so many different communities, and it made me want to just be a part of it even more and have so much diversity around us.
So you guys came here, and unlike all the people that I've met during the last 4 years since we started YokoVillage and working on this community, you guys came here and we're like, Liran, we're ready to move here. We're ready to start helping you build this school. You want to manage a program for families. And that's so needed here because so many parents, part of the yoga community, they feel like they don't have where to and how to deal with their kids and keep the education while they're being in Costa Rica. You guys have already had a big experience managing a yurt school. Can you tell us a little bit how that was born and what happened there?
Yeah, yurt school. I actually, when I think about it, and I think your school was created for myself. I love being around children. I love play. I love exploring, and I think that's what I needed when I was younger. And so, working in the school system for 10 years, I realized within the public system there was a lot of ways that kids weren't being served the best. In the way that education is being delivered, the fact that they're on screens a lot, and there's a big disconnection from nature and from play and from exploration. There's a lot of restrictions, like sitting in seats and paying attention only to the screen, or those and learning through just hearing others versus learning through experience. And over the years, I really realized how important that is. Like, recess was the best time for kids to learn because they actually got to run and scream and show their energy. And so I really wanted to offer that in a space that was more holistic in mindset that the school board didn't really give us. So I left the school board in 2022 after COVID, and a lot of those restrictions happened as well. And a lot of educators that I know, we created our own system, and we created our own schools, and we created 4 schools and yurt schools and schools where kids dance and play and learn real life skills and really learn how to be a part of community.
And so you've been managing a school that is kind of like a Montessori, Waldorf type of school. Mm-hmm. And there is a whole background to you guys of, why and how this got started. Maybe I can ask you, Josh. So you have all this experience in running men's group and being a vulnerable human, but also alpha male, strong. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to do this work?
So my background, my family, they're from Guyana. So incredibly hardworking people, and I am the firstborn son. I have three sisters as well, and so I've really had a lot of attention on me. I had a lot of love around me, and people really cheering for me to win. In all ways of life, and in a lot of ways, like the successes that I achieved are kind of like community and familial successes. Like going to university and the different achievements that I've had, all those kind of things. It's very much carrying those people with me, as we do that. And so, in being around more people from my community and being in Toronto, as Sukhi mentioned, like you get exposure to so many different kind of people. I really found that what we're all guilty of is kind of looking more for what divides us rather than what unites us. And so, I noticed a lot of different things that, we're all so similar. And I really found myself in a lot of spaces, be those corporate spaces, educational spaces, all that, really trying to hammer that point home and show that to the people. And, often those structures that exist to keep those different systems in play don't really allow for people who are trying to show that to really succeed and thrive in those environments, right? So, I found myself, just behind the scenes, even supporting my colleagues and, treating them as if they're my brothers and sisters, versus people that I'm competing for positions against, kind of thing, right? So, I really saw that there was a need for more of us to have spaces where we felt we could be vulnerable and say what we're challenged by and things like that. So a big part of Healing in Color was an opportunity to do that. to really be there as a space holder for men, especially to help them see that there's a person of color who looks like them, who is being vulnerable, who's going through these challenges and not hiding it. You know, leading with that vulnerability has really taken us far and helped a lot of men to come out to, whether it's the retreats or the one-on-one experiences or sessions with Sukhi as well, you know, to really see that they're not alone out there, right? But it was really just trying to, you know, keep knocking on that door to let them know you're not alone out here, right? And so as I saw them feel more empowered and really love the life that they're living, that just helped me to commit more and more and see that I wanted to dedicate more and more of my time towards empowering people with the same sort of thing in different ways.
Right, and you had a corporate job before. Now you're you're into education, men's groups, circles, running retreats, program for children together. It's so beautiful to see you guys coming together. And I know that, what have people been saying about you as you move through that transition? I'm sure there's some interesting things to share there.
Yeah, there's a lot. And it's interesting because it's the people who you feel know you the best who have the most to say. And it's all these things that you never would have thought that they thought about you. So there has been, if I'm being totally honest as I want to be, there's been a lot of turning their back on me type of behavior. A lot of behavior of why, are you stupid? And so what I found is that there was a lot of trust in me as a person, as long as I was doing everything that everyone said I was supposed to do. And then the moment that I said, hey, I've tried your way, I'm not finding satisfaction in this, and I feel I have a better way, that's when they start to peel off and really try to discredit, this vision and this life that we're trying to build. Even when we lived back in Ontario, taking, all the different precautions and things like that, set up your business, do this, do that, insulate yourself against this, all of these kind of things, we played by the rules. Right. We played by all the rules. And, it was just interesting to see that as we really start to think more for ourselves and imagine a different way of life forward for us than what's been imagined for us. I found it to be an incredibly interesting, but freeing at the same time, because at least you know where you stand with people. And that has honestly strengthened the partnership between Sukhi and I. We've been able to see that no matter what challenge comes our way, we're going to be able to get through it, and we're going to be able to support each other and have each other's back. So, I'm grateful for all of it. It hasn't been pleasant, but I'm incredibly grateful for it.
And you guys have this affinity to staying and teaching people to become better humans, whether it's children or families. And I want to dive a little bit into this in a little bit. Sukhi, you come from Indian origins. Josh, I guess, as per where you said your family comes from, there's probably slavery during those times. So there's a lot of stuff that happened in the past that I assume have shaped a little bit of who you are today. Maybe a quick word about that.
Definitely. Our ancestry has really been really impactful on both of us and how we've kind of operating in this world. My family, coming to Canada, and I'm being first generation, there was a lot of challenges around cultural expectations and things like that. And then growing up in the Western world with those expectations were really difficult. And I became such a rebellious teen because of it. I always felt this sense of I need to live, I need to be free, I want to explore life. But as a female in Indian culture, you're very limited as to how much that looks like. The path is laid out for you. You get married, you have children, and you die, and that's pretty much the path. And I didn't want to accept that. But with those challenges came a lot of mental health concerns for myself as a teen. And so I really struggled as a teen, and I didn't have any places to really speak about it or have anyone I felt safe to speak to about it. And so the challenges in the family created a very abusive situation. And I landed me in foster care and as a teenager at the age of 14, and coming into foster care thinking, this should be a safe haven. This should be a safe space for me now. There's still a lot of challenges of moving and living in different areas that, I didn't look like the people there. And, it was when 9/11 happened, and I was one of the only people of color in the town. And so we were called terrorists, and you're also treated differently when you're a foster kid. And then there were so many parts of my identity that made other people treat me differently, and the system just wasn't working very well. And so I decided to leave the system at the age of 16 on my own accord and try to figure it out. And I realized at 16, I'm like, I don't even know what to do at 16 at this point. So I ended up going home and trying to live the life my parents really set out for me. It was, get married, and everything's done once you get married. And I followed that path, and that also led me to more abusive situations, my first marriage. And I finally broke free from that too. And I said, I'm living life free from now on. This is my goal, is freedom. And since then, I've just kept freeing myself from these things. And so it brought me to my work was I really wanted to be the person I needed when I was younger, someone children can talk to and connect with and share with without feeling like there's something wrong with them, or they're the only ones experiencing those things and they don't have a place to belong. In my space with all the kids and everybody that I work with, there's always a space to belong. So I became that person. I became a child needs counselor, and that led me into my work with working with children and families in social work settings, in homes, in residential settings, working with children with special needs as well. I've worked a lot with children on the spectrum and with ADHD, and these are a lot of the children who struggle in regular public systems too, because you're really set up to kind of sit and pay attention, whereas in yurt school, you get to scream, you get to play, you get to throw a stick, you get to eat a dandelion, you get to explore those things. And those children that struggle in the classroom, you can see them thrive in situations where they're out in nature. So, I joined the system thinking I could join the system and change the system. And after so many years in the system, I realized the system isn't changing. And the only way to do that now is to create my own. And that's what created all of this in the yurt school and in the space that, we could really give people that experience that they need, where it's like coming home, almost like a place to run away to. And I needed that when I was a teen because I ran away a lot. So this is a place for people to run away to, or to come home to, instead of running away from something. It's a place to come home to where you get loved and you get to play and you get to let it out and feel like people are there to support you. Yeah.
Beautiful. So before we dive into what more happens in the yurt school and how the kids react to it, and I can't wait to talk about all that, I just want to go backwards a little bit. So you have had a chance to experience starting your school, running it for a couple of years, I understand, and that was the yurt school in Canada. And maybe there was a little bit of challenges, things that you learned from, because now that we're about to embark on this co-creation journey where we're going to open the school right here in Costa Rica, I'd love it if you shared a little bit what happened there, what happened to the kids, to the families, and what also challenges you experienced while doing that.
Yeah, definitely. It was a dream to be able to open up our own space and to kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, govern your own space and not have the influence of governments and curriculums and mandates and those kind of things, to really give everyone a sense of freedom in that space. And so many children and families benefited from that. It was beautiful often to see like 3 generations. I would see the kids, and then their parents would come, and their dads would come to the men's retreats, and the women would come to some of my retreats, and then I saw grandparents too. And to really be able to see all 3 generations, to see them stepping into healing, is where the real healing really starts to happen. And that's what brought me to my work with the adults, was to help the children, I have to help the adults as well. And this is a space of co-creation with everyone. And so kids, they came out of their shell, they were less anxious, they were more grounded, they got to play in the dirt, they got muddy, we planted gardens and grew food, and families came together and had family sessions and had a cup of cacao and cried. Dads cried in front of their kids for the first time, and the kids really got to see their emotions, and they got to play, and there was just so much healing that happened in connection. We had so many ways to connect. There was meditation circles, there was one-on-one sessions, there was family healing sessions that they would come together, sound healing. We had other people come in to do yoga and yoni steaming and fire ceremonies, and it was just a collection of humans coming together to hold space for others. And it was an awesome feeling to have potlucks every Friday or every once in a while around the bonfire. It was a really great space. Of course, with anything comes challenges, and I think what our biggest challenge was where we were living. The space we were in was a little bit outside of the city, and so we weren't always welcomed by the people in the space because we didn't look like them either, and they didn't know much about who we were or what our offerings are, and often that can scare people. And I'm sure you think
many people, I see it on social media, people are asking, is Yoko a cult, or what is that? You guys probably got exactly. The same thing.
Yeah,
yes.
I heard that. I was like, is this a cult? Because we were wearing Indian clothes for Diwali once, and that made us a cult. But it was just a lack of understanding from people, and we saw that change over time. But Canada was really difficult financially, especially started becoming at some point. The cost of everything just kept going up and up, and people don't have the same type of finances to really support themselves in services that aren't offered by the government. Things that are more holistic cost a lot more, and so a lot of people were struggling. They loved the services, but they weren't able to afford some of them. And then our costs kept going up too, and the challenges of being accepted in the community, and then the financial challenges took a toll on us because there was only the two of us really working at this community. We played every role. We trimmed the trees, we cut the grass. Well, actually, our neighbor helped us with that, but that was the only thing. Planted the garden and cleaned the snow off of the yurt and shoveled the snow and all of those things. And for two people, it's challenging. And what we're really looking forward to and we're really excited about is the idea of community and having a real sense of everybody getting their hands in the dirt and working together.
And, I think a big part of the challenge, and we did work at this while we had the space and whatnot, a big part of it was really, making sure that people are understanding what it is you're offering, right? Being very clear about it because, especially in the healing, when it comes to healing and those types of experiences, right? There can be this performative aspect that people come to expect. Right? Or that might have been their first experience. So, they might be, they like everybody, right? They walk through the door with their own sort of sets of experiences. And us, we really wanted to make sure that we are true to the roots of the things that we are helping them with, right? Be that with the experiences or even the things that we invite them to enjoy, right? And really trying to educate them, whether it's about the yurt or the cacao, anything like that, right? To make sure that they really have a solid foundation and understand the whys of what they're participating in, right? That was a big thing. That was definitely a big thing for us.
So you guys were teaching there a lot of essentially life skills and immersive experiences with the parents, without the parents, and all these angles that the kids and also the parents don't get in today's educational system in the public schools, right? And then at the same time, was there also math or English or other traits that maybe parents would feel like are important?
Yeah, definitely. The great thing about letting kids lead often was what happens in the program is kids have a choice of they'll give me ideas of things that they want to do, and so when you let children lead, they really build a lot of confidence in themselves in becoming leaders. And naturally, math happens when we count how many rocks are there, or math happens when we're putting things together or building things from blocks and twigs and those kind of things. Reading happens when we read books. We often read so many books together, and we're writing together and we're writing down reflections. So all of those things naturally happen a part of the program as well. So those things are also covered in the space, but children enjoy it differently because it doesn't feel like a task. They have to sit there and read for 20 minutes. They actually feel like they want to read. And I noticed that difference between the public system and the system that we were supporting, which is the homeschooling community, was in the public system, kids dragged their feet. They hated it. They didn't want to read. They didn't want to do these things. In the homeschooling environment, kids were like activated. They were excited. They came excited for the adventure, and they're like, oh wow, I get to be in a yurt today and I get to do all these things. And I read at home with my mom, and I started a business at 7 years old, and I'm making bracelets and I'm doing all these things. Whereas the public system, I felt it was very they didn't have that excitement about learning. And when you allow kids to play and to explore things because they're interested in them, you see such a big difference. It's called unschooling, where you allow kids to lead. And you see such a difference in how excited they are, because kids are curious. They want to learn. But when they don't have an environment that fosters that, it's difficult for them to get excited about it. But in these spaces, it's like, eating flowers is exciting. They've never eaten a flower from the ground or picked a zucchini from our garden and just eaten it straight from the garden. That's an exciting thing for kids.
Just to add to that, something that I've seen is like that's often missing, right? When we get, traditional education, we get a lot of that theoretical, right? But we never get that practical and that chance to actually experiment with it, right? And, I think I've really seen that come home to roost, especially in the corporate world, right? Where you could tell, like, we're just book smart people. We're not practical people. We don't know how to apply that into real world settings where there are other people and variables at play. So, this type of education and the way that Sukhi's run these programs for these kids has definitely set them apart and is opening up all these new doors that, generations before didn't have, because it's really shifting the way that they think and helping them use more of their mind and figure out how to really harness like more of that power that they have.
Beautiful. this is everything I wanted to have in a school when I was a kid, and I never got it.
Right. That's why
I
I said
felt
it was
like
for
I'm
me,
such a
yeah.
misfit, and
Don't worry,
and
you're welcome to come to your school.
I mean, I'm bringing my kids
Anytime,
there for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yes. So you guys, let's roll back for a minute because I want to talk about our mutual plans and how we're about to open this school. Part of the reason why we're doing this podcast is because we want to express your vision that I am so much bought into and ready to do everything to execute it.
Yeah.
Right here in Santa Teresa, and having a school is the biggest pillar for families to be able to move here or even consider to have this as their second home, as they want to know what happens with their children. And that has been a question that I've been asked for the last 4 years, and I never had a good answer. I've always wanted and was wishing for a couple like you to land here, and then all of a sudden, I invite you to the Yoko Connect in January. We started speaking months ago before, and you guys and I, we have gifts in this event. So in order for everybody to co-create, your gift was to host a workshop that was very special, because in that workshop I imagined myself like as if I've died, and I'm talking about what's happening on my on my funeral. Yes. And so that workshop was very special. And you guys just are involved in so many beautiful things that are educational, that are alternative, but at the same time, I like how you bring the real world necessities of now. I mean, obviously it's important to have math and language, and at the same time get into books, but the life skills and all these other immersive things that are happening to create more consciousness and more presence between the parents. That is so beautiful. And so this workshop was called the Legacy Workshop. It was one of the most special things we've done at Yoko Connect. And then before Yoko Connect, we had a chance to really connect with the Zoe experience. So, at Yoko, we are creating possibilities for freedom and peace and a sense of belonging and building a community. Some people see it as a second home, and others are seeing it as potentially their first home. We all say we're never going to retire. We always want to continue and co-create and do stuff together to live the most fulfilled life, but we want to do it from a place of well-being, and live in more connection to ourselves and to nature. And I feel like what you're bringing to the table here is so important. So we've met a little bit at Zoe, and I'm curious if you can share a little bit about your experience at Zoe, what you had there, and how that brought us more even together.
Yeah, I'll be real, and I was a little hesitant coming into Costa Rica of whether this was the space for me, or, I went to Thailand and I fell in love with Thailand, and I came here thinking with some walls. I did come with some walls of like, I don't know if this is the right space for me. It doesn't feel good at first. And then I went to the beach, and, we sat down and we talked, and that changed everything that day. And then coming to Zoe was such an experience for me to really get to know the people that are in this community, and the people that are here already, and people who could possibly be a part of Zoe. It gave me a chance to really get deep with people and intimate on a heart level, and really get to know people in a way that doesn't happen so quickly, but you want to happen because you don't have a lot of time to really always feel things out, and people's time is limited. And how deep we got in these pods was incredible. And even I noticed the synchronicities in the pod that I was leading. There was so much like there was so much that we could relate to within these pods, that I didn't think I had in common with people there. And it just so happened these people all had that in common with me. So I loved how that all came together. But the most important thing for me was how I was able to sit and hear everyone's visions and everyone's dreams, and help everyone manifest it. That was a beautiful experience for me to hear. Even Laurent, I was in your group at that time, and to really hear your dreams, and just to experience that. And I had shared in our group too that I heard a lot of men having this dream, and that was different for me. It was, I heard you, I could hear Josh, I could hear Jonah, I could hear so many of the men in that space have such a similar dream, and I don't hear that maybe from the men that I have had in my life so far. So it was incredible to be able to get so deep with everyone, and that really made a shift for me in how I wanted to be a part of Yoko after that.
Yeah, for me, the Zoe experience, it felt it was definitely nothing that I expected, you know. And if I came in with expectations, it exceeded all of them. You know, I really loved the fact that I felt safe enough to just not even have the answer to the question that was asked of me. Like when we did the dream exercise, I told everyone, hey, can like skip me, come back to me, because I didn't know what to say for that, you know. And it was safe for me to do that. And then, you know, everyone being vulnerable themselves, that allowed me to just like it just burst open and flow, you know. And I'm not used to that. And I shared on so many occasions with everyone that I was in a pod with, that I feel like I know them more than I know some people I've known for 10, 20 years, right? Because of the level of vulnerability and the curated questions, right? Like they were designed for us to actually get that deep, right? If we were willing. And I found we were all willing participants. So it was just confirmation that the type of people that we're hoping to surround ourselves with find themselves here, right? So that I was sold, you know, after that experience, 1,000,000%.
It is very beautiful what happens in these retreats that we run, because people come and meet us all the time, and they want to see the land, they want to hear about our vision and our values, but we wind up asking each other questions that are only on the surface, these objective questions, right? Where you come from, what do you do for work, and it's not like, how do you find love, what are your challenges, what are your dreams. And in that dream experience, so we closed our eyes, and for 7 minutes we each had a chance to really deeply share, while everybody practiced deep listening. And people, we all just want to be heard. And this is so important, to really create a deep connection between another, when we actually understand our challenges and our dreams, and our things that are intimate, like how we find love in our life, and what challenges we have with that, or what is currently our situation, what are we fearful about, or what's a like less of a pleasant quality, like guilt or shame, that we can actually discuss. And most people are like, only will do that with like a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And actually, when you are in between a small group of people, and we share that, and we practice that deep sharing and deep listening, there's this inner technology that we feel it can burst out, and then we get to know more ourselves and each other. And when there's so much knowing of each other so fast, then starts this magic to happen. And from that place, we create trust, real trust, and then we kind of know each other better than some of our best friends. And from that place, there starts like this thing called synergy, that we can start co-create together and bring things to life. And I feel like that's what happened to us. So thank you, Zoe, and thank you for coming and trusting, because so many people are like seeing this and they're like, I'm not the guy who's like to start sharing against a bunch of strangers. What is that about? And I was that guy a few years ago as well, before I peeled out. So it's really a good way maybe to host these retreats, to see who are parents or families that are really want to be part of this, that this could be, instead of filling some boring application, they can come for have a real experience with us.
Yeah. To really get to know everybody like on a deep level like that is important.
Yeah. And so, there's this thing called Game A and Game B, and we talk a little bit about this, where we usually say, Game A is the world that we live in, and it thrives on somebody winning and another person losing. This dynamic happens a lot in sports, in politics, right, in business also. And we're kind of like, we might say that we all want to live in Game B, but maybe we're at like level 0 of Game B right now. We're looking to aspire to do Game B at level 1 or 2 one day. And I think that, coming to live in nature and far away places, living the city, trying to build in a sustainable manner, building a school or a plan for parents where they connect on a different level. I feel like that's like the beginning of like Game B players, and that's what I'm so fond about you guys. So we have this vision that I'd like you to share more about. So you guys we're now together in Costa Rica. It's March 2025. Yeah, you guys are planning to come back here in about a couple of months, and we are going to get going. Tell me a little bit about the plans.
The plan is to come back. So June of last year, Josh and I decided that we closed our space in Canada, and that Canada wasn't a place we wanted to call home anymore. And we really wanted it to be somewhere tropical and be more in a community minded space. And we set out by selling everything except our yurt. We kept our yurt, and we've been traveling now for the last 7-8 months. We've been to about 8 different countries, just traveling around, being tourists, mini retirement almost, just kind of taking it easy, coming back to ourselves, doing a lot of our participating in retreats and spaces like that, just to see what we really want moving forward. And what we really wanted was community. And so when we came here, we found that, and we're excited to come here, and we want to bring the yurt to Costa Rica and put her up again and invite people in and have another community space where there's people that we can connect with and help them learn how to connect while also connecting with them and connecting with the land at the same time. So part of the space is going to be a jungle school where kids get to be a part of the program either 2 or 3 days a week. The push is really for children to also be learning at home with their families, because that's so important in their development, is to be with their families and learning with their families too. That a part-time program really offers this a balance between both. I could see being in the public system is really tiring for children to be there, 5 days a week, 9 to 5. They stop learning after the first 2 hours anyways, because they're there the whole day. And some even afterwards if they're in the after-school program. So it's important for children to be at home. And in this program, they'll be learning things about mindfulness and neuroscience and about the brain and yoga and breath work and cooking and how to be a part of community and be a global citizen, and learning about diversity and playing in the river and climbing the trees and making mud pies and eating flowers and growing food, and really just having time together to be free, to learn through reading and writing and singing and sound and play and connection. And then beyond that, we're going to be offering these same experiences for families, because it's so important for families to learn how to do this together too. And those experiences will be family sessions that, locals here that are here visiting can join us for. And then even family retreats. There's some really some really amazing glamping domes that you guys have set up in Senga that are ready to welcome families in, and they really get this jungle experience of coming out here and hearing the monkeys and seeing all the birds and getting a chance to immerse themselves, and with parents programs and children's programs happening at the same time, and wellness programs for everyone to participate in, and then healing sessions in the yurt for people individually, and men's retreats happening with Josh, and more community events around meditation and cacao. And there's so many beautiful things that come out of this space. And that's only a small little bit of what's going on there.
Beautiful. Yeah, and the artist residency program that we're setting up, that's so many nice things. And if I can just say or ask, for what ages, what are the age groups that you guys are hosting in general?
Well, the age groups are really open. I work with ages 4 to 100, basically. We will, as we start to ground ourselves in the space and get a sense of what's necessary here for the community, there will be programs for toddlers as well to come with their parents and to have experiences too. So it's really working with, all ages, but the jungle school program would be around 4 to 12. And as we expand, there's an opportunity to have it for teenagers too, because teenagers also need a space where they can ground and, be outside as well, or volunteer with us as well. There's so many opportunities that will be really open for all ages.
Beautiful. Okay, so, we plan to do this in a space called Sangha, which means community in Sanskrit. That's right next to Yoko North. Sangha is this multi-use space for community, for the residents of Yoko North, but also for people coming to lodge and visit, also for people wanting to host retreats. There is a bunch of doctors that are also part of the vision. That might come a bit later, as we need a bigger fundraiser to start the health and wellness clinic in Sangha. But then in the meantime, we have this beautiful plan to start the schooling program, the family program, so people can right away, as of later this year, can start coming with their children for a week, for a month, for a few months, and actually have a place where they can stay, where their kids can get a program, where they can get a program with their kids, become better humans. That is so exciting.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. And there's even an opportunity for like exchange programs for pod schools and things like that exist. That I know in Ontario and many places for them to do an exchange program where they get to come out and experience our school here in the jungle.
Okay, so what's special about the yurt specifically? Why yurt?
The yurt.
It's a pretty big yurt,
Yeah,
right?
it's a big yurt. What's so incredible about the yurt is, first and foremost, it's a circular shape, right? And a circle represents things like oneness and connection, and that the energy is flowing. There's no corners for the energy to stop. And so when you step into a circular space, you feel like you belong. You feel like this is your space, and the energy moves so beautifully in a space like that. And beyond that, the yurt was created in community. There was a family in Mongolia, Bata and his family, who created this yurt by hand with love. They hand painted, hand carved, hand created this beautiful community space for us to gather in. And so you feel the energy of the Mongolian ancestors in the yurt. And then you step in, and with all the energy that everybody else has brought into the yurt, you feel this sense of oneness that hugs you and holds you, and just really grounds you to the space. Yeah.
A lot of people, including ourselves, liken it to the womb, right? And feeling like that's where you are, right? So, whether that might be your first time feeling that way, right? That deep sense of being held and actually safe, right? So just to see like how even the body language changes without any sort of, conscious effort as you walk through that door, right? The eyes, like all the different things, it's like you go in and leave a different person. It's truly one of those spaces.
Perhaps for those watching over YouTube, we can show a picture of how the yurt used to be. This is the picture. And we're going to adapt this yurt now to the jungle.
Definitely.
So it's like jungle school within a yurt, around space. And then just right outside, we have a place to have a tree nursery and grow our vegetables. And so this is all coming so nicely together to have a nature school, get that education. It's like such a full package that I'm sure it's you guys are going to be full, and you won't be able to have all the people that are going to want to travel and stay with us.
More yurts, and
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen one day. That's a good problem to have, is to have more yurts.
Definitely. So this immersion in nature and learning through experience to play, that gets me excited. You talked about social, emotional learning. And mindfulness and connection to earth and practical life skills. These are all such wonderful things. Tell me a little bit about the programs in terms of like how do you see it like in times of days? Is it like 2-3 days in a week, 6-8 week program? What kind of programs do you see? If you can expand a little bit about that.
Yeah, we'll definitely be chatting with the current community and seeing what they need as well, and what the need is in the space. But generally, a lot of the programs will be 2 to 3 days a week, maybe for blocks from 6 to 8 weeks, giving time in between for family sessions and for other things that we'll be offering to the community as well, because we love to be in service, but it's also important for us to have rest as well, and we want to be in the best service we can to everyone. So a part-time program works best for everybody, and that allows us and gives us space to offer a lot of the other experiences that children and families need together, and men and women and couples.
And perhaps you can allow the imagination of some of the parents that are going to be sending their children to this. What would a day of the life here look like, being part of this program?
Well, they can drop their kids off in the morning with us, and we start off with meditation in the morning and stretching and movement. And then we let the children lead for part of the day. There's parts where we'll let them lead outside in nature, and then there'll be parts where we'll be inside learning and reading and doing arts and crafts. And then there's a flow of learning about mindfulness and learning about neuroscience, which is really important, and how our brain functions and how our bodies function. Because when we understand that, then we're able to learn more self-regulation. So throughout the day, there's one of my favorite activities with kids is a slow race. I don't know if you guys have ever tried that before, a slow race, whereas the slowest person wins. And that is so hard for people to be slow, especially children who have so much energy. And that's one of my favorite activities, is we do things differently that way. We have the fast races too, but then we have the slow races. So you're really challenging different parts of the brain and learning about it, and learning how to how to work with our reticular activating system, which is, our manifesting part of our brain that filters things for us, and how to calm it down by breath, and how to use sound, and how to be grateful and eat slowly. One thing I really love in the mindfulness program too is when I blindfold the kids and they eat things that they don't know what they're eating. And they often think, oh, I'm feeding them like bugs or something like that, which is not true. It's a date usually, or a fig. But when you don't see something, you experience it differently. So we really drop into our senses, which is really important when we're out in nature, is dropping into all of our five senses. So there's an opportunity to connect in so many ways. And then you connect with community. We learn team building. We learn how to resolve conflict, which is such a huge thing in the society that we live in at a young age. I have a lot of siblings that came to my program, and siblings, naturally, a lot of people know, will butt heads. And this is a great space for them to learn how to resolve conflict in a way that's like, I can talk to this person and communicate, and that person can receive it, and we can apologize and be more mindful moving forward. So it's really creating global citizens, children that want to be a part of the whole world and really learn how to connect with everybody. So, we're going to cook food together. We're going to grow our food. There's a lot of really great, and play in the river, which I'm so excited about. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's really amazing. The kids, when I would be able to participate and help out with different programs that were going on, for them to draw on their lessons from Sukhi about the brain, right, and calming themselves down to realize, okay, what part's activated? What do I need to do in order to bring myself back to a state of calmness and balance? Seeing that, you could tell, these are the next wave of incredible cycle breakers within their own family units, even, right, because they have this knowledge, and being at that age where they're going to retain this knowledge. Right? It's so special to see them learn this, right? Because they become so incredible and mindful, just as they're even going home, right? And they carry this into their communities. So it's absolutely tremendous for them to learn, especially that, I find.
Yeah, I've had parents tell me that they go home and the kids start teaching them about the brain, or they start doing Reiki on their parents because they've experienced it with me. Because we'll do energy healing, and I teach Reiki to children too, so it's something they can start practicing at a young age, connecting with that. But it's so nice to hear them go home and teach the families about it because they get so excited about it.
There's also field trips with more kids. Is there tell me more what else happens?
Yeah, there's a really great opportunity for local schools here in Santa Teresa, and even schools that are abroad that want to come for experiences. Field trips can happen for the schools that are here, where they really get to come out into the jungle and have an experience of mindfulness throughout the day and connecting with the land. And for schools like the ones I've connected with in Ontario from Refound Education, those schools I really want to connect with and bring them out for exchange programs, and other pod schools where they get to come out for the week. But that would be more of a, let's bring the family together for that experience.
Yeah, taking the family to the tide pools,
yeah,
the waterfalls,
exactly.
all this stuff.
Surfing. There's a lot of really great surf out here and beautiful beaches for everyone to experience. Yeah,
absolutely. So as we're coming to maybe the end of this, maybe if I can ask you a couple of more questions. So many people are going through challenging times right now in the world and cities. We're right now here in this beautiful weather. It's so cold and snowy in other places, and we'd like to be inviting people to come here and have a different experience with their children, with different programs. Is there a message or anything you'd like to say to people that are watching this or listening to this? What else could there be for them? Anything you'd like to share that you feel like is important?
I think that, we're in a time right now where they feel that they're trying their best, right? And we're often hitting these walls where it's just my best doesn't feel like it's good enough, right? And, having been there myself, that's kind of what I needed for me to get this adventure spirit and really buy in, right? It's I see that something else needs to shift. It can't just be me trying to do all of this, but almost live two lives, right? I want to live this life of freedom, but I feel chained here, right? So, what I would say to people is really, a lot of us as normal functions of our job, we have to analyze numbers for a lot of other people to make them rich. And what I encourage us to do is to really tap into our math skills that we use for other people and use them for ourselves. A big part of it is sitting with your bills and looking at your budgets and making those things, the things that many of us hate doing. Opening up that spreadsheet and really, really doing the math literally. Because a lot of what I find that traps the stuff that traps us and keeps us kind of running the same cycles, even though we know that it's not fulfilling us, is the fact that we don't want to confront that we might have been wrong. Right. So we'll actually just dig deeper and just keep in this cycle of unhappiness rather than say, oh, shoot, you know what? Yeah, my 5-year degree. Well, I guess that wasn't the way. Right. So I really encourage more people to do that, because when I did that, I got to get even more real with myself and be like, OK, what is it that I'm holding on so tightly over here for? Right. In the familiarity. Why am I so resistant to the unknown and this possibility of adventure and a brand new life, like me to actually have an active ability to curate what my future and present look like? Right. So having done that exercise, understanding that, you know what, there is a way, and we all make a way for the things that we say are important. Right. So, even if it might not be overnight, we can make a way. It takes careful planning, just like everything else, but we can make a way. And a big part of that is really getting pencil, paper, numbers. Let's figure that out. That's what I would say.
Beautiful. Sukhi?
I don't know what he said. He said everything that was really important there. What I would say to people is, don't be afraid to follow your dreams. We've had this dream of moving and living in the jungle literally for some time, and we kept ourselves safe in what we thought was safe and in where we grew up and what we knew. And we left without knowing where it would lead us. And, it's led us to some incredible spaces. And money isn't everything. Having all the riches in the world and the biggest house in the world isn't everything. And I know many people who have had that, and they'll tell you that it's not everything. Being in connection with people and community is the most important thing. I often share with the kids that I work with who don't know this movie, but it's the adults that know it, about Castaway. And how when he was on this island by himself, he really felt alone. He felt lonely. And then he took the Wilson volleyball and made that his friend, because we need connection. We need people. And we're lacking that in so many spaces where we really feel connected with people. And so I encourage people to follow their dreams, because connection is what's really going to help you get there when other people can connect with you on that level of community. And it takes a village. It takes a village to raise these kids. And the villages aren't happening in other spaces. We don't know our neighbors. We don't know who anybody is in the space. And when you're in a space where there's really a village, and this is a village, where all these people can help you in spaces and encourage you and support you, and have dinner with, on a Friday night. Every Friday is community dinner, and Sundays are meditations, and we grow food together, and we have this quality of really knowing who we are. That's the most riches for me anyways. And so following my dreams has brought me to the most riches I could think of is connection with people. So I really hope people take that leap of faith in themselves and follow their dreams.
And it's definitely not a dream for just rich people. It's when you come out as a community and you're really ready to communicate about what are your needs and what is it you can do. Then yeah, maybe some people can afford to build a big villa, but other people can share a piece of land and make that price a lot less and build together. And so there's so much options. I've listened in this book most recently by Thich Nhat Hanh about how, just rich people usually having a harder time in their relationships, because when you're rich and you have so much, you need to all the time be maintaining what you got and grow richer. And then you're actually missing the most important piece of life, which is that human connection that you have, that you can have with your children or with your family. And I feel like I'm learning that in a bit late, but it's never too late. So this has been so wonderful. Any last words you want to say?
I don't really know. I think I've said it all. I'm just excited. I'm really excited for what's coming, and I'm really activated by the community that really surrounded us during Connect, and the community that continues to surround us. And I'm excited for what's coming. I think this is a really great opportunity for families to really come together in a way that we know is natural to us, and that the way our ancestors did it, you know, with a little bit of a modern take. You know, we have Wi-Fi, we have air conditioning, but coming back to some of our ancestral roots, and that's what's so beautiful about this opportunity is it's a space of oneness. It's a space for people of all diversities and all faiths to come together and just hold each other in a village. So I'm excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
And I'm just grateful to you, Laurent, for holding true to your vision. As much as there might have been easier ways to get to where you want to go, I'm really grateful that you've stuck to the integrity path and the path that you'll be proud of when it's all said and done. So, this space, you can feel it. Words don't even need to be said, and you can feel the energy of the space. So, really appreciate that, and thank you, because in doing that, you've opened the door for us to shift what our legacy and lineage look like from here on in. And especially having the different entry points and ways that people can be part of this community, that makes all the difference, because everyone can then see themselves here, not just that top 1% or whatever it is, So thank you for making it truly an inclusive space where everyone can feel welcome.
Thank you so much, Josh. And I want to say this, I'd like to invite more people who would like to start things, who are ready to come here. It doesn't matter if you have a lot of money to now buy an expensive piece of land or you don't, but there's ways for us to share the land. There's ways for us to settle in, start our businesses, even if we don't come from a very rich career. There's ways to do community work if you're willing to get your hands in the dirt and actually do the work and have patience and figure things out, not just come we're like, okay, I need like a red carpet that everything's ready for me. It's been a few years. We've served many people who came and had the opportunity to connect with us and buy their piece of land here. Some of them are still not building, some already building or planning their homes, but a lot of them are not ready to come in and actually do community work with us. It's interesting to see how all the people that have came to the Zoe experience, to Yoko Connect, and have had days and on to do real work together and really get to know each other, how that feels so different and how these people are collaborating and doing things. And we've helped more. We've seen more people like Jean-Paul. We've helped him raise all the money for his dental clinic, and all these things that are happening that are positive. At the same time, we might be going through challenges. 2024 and this early 25 has been very challenging for us in many ways. Yet we continue here to do the work, and we don't feel like there is anything better that we should be doing. Coming back to starting a company for myself, like a tech company, or just in that game A world of let's just be disconnected, pull all of our resources into making money without having a certain purpose, and then later realize that money, that what are we going to do with it? There's just so much more satisfaction to co-create together and create this new world together. So I'm very grateful for you, and hopefully more people such as yourself will show up here and be like, you know what, we understand it's hard, we understand there's all these problems, but you know what, we're with you because we're together.
Exactly. Let's invite more people in for co-creation. It takes a village, not just for the children, but for everybody. And we've got to put our hands in the dirt. And the exciting part of the adventure is the build. When you build it together and you feel this sense of community with it, and that's what we're here for. And we really hope that there's people that are out there that are feeling that, really feel the call to come and co-create with us, because there's so many opportunities to build and create a life that we feel good about, and we feel good about for the generations coming.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.